Hey everyone, and welcome to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me as always, is Tara.
Greetings, citizens.
Oh, nice touch, the Arnold voice. This is our science fiction movie podcast where every single episode we get a sci-fi movie and we watch it together, and then we don't watch it together necessarily, but we talk about it together. We get together and we talk about it, ins and outs. Sometimes it's a shitty little film, sometimes it's an old movie, sometimes it's a new movie, and sometimes it's a bona fide classic. And recently we did The Terminator because we were on the path to Dark Fate in November? September?
I don't know.
Somewhere in that we figured it out when we scheduled out the episodes. We knew we'd paced them out the right amount. But anyway, so naturally after the Terminator, we're here to talk about Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Electric Boogaloo. Oh, Judgment Day.
Yes, Judgment Day. And we're going to talk about this movie in depth. Is it worth doing a spoiler-free section of this movie?
I don't know. Yes? I mean, might as well.
Okay, we'll do a small spoiler-free section. So Terminator 2 was 7 years after the original. So 1984 to 1991. Interestingly, the longest gap between sequels is from 2 to 3. And I remember, because I grew up loving Terminator 1 and 2. So Terminator 3 came out in 2003 when I was 14. It felt like, those first two were ancient because they were before I was. Well, one was before I was born, the other one wasn't. But I was a baby. I was like a toddler. Like I wasn't exactly watching Terminator 2, right?
Maybe.
Whereas you were already driving by that point, I'm sure. So.
How dare you?
I meant a tricycle, not a car, a tricycle. So. But the reason I mention this is that Terminator Genesis to Dark Fate is actually the shortest gap between any of the sequels, believe it or not, which is weird because Genesis was like by far the worst one that should have killed the franchise forever.
But Dark Fate is not connected to Genesis, right?
Well, no, but Genesis wasn't connected to Salvation, and Salvation wasn't connected to 3 either.
Oh boy, okay. But Dark Fate is connected to 1 and 2.
So technically, they're all connected to 1 and 2.
Yeah, because Genesis was also connected to 1 and 2.
Yeah, and so was Salvation.
So they've done this 4 times?
Yeah, every sequel after 2 has been a new attempt at doing new sequels, but they've always ignored the other sequels post 2.
We're only counting the good ones. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, the idea is basically that Terminator 3, Terminator Salvation, Terminator Genesis, and Terminator Dark Fate are technically all Terminator 3.
Okay. Really? Even Salvation takes place after 2 and not after 3? Okay.
I think so. I mean, they may have left it vague, but I mean, you literally wouldn't have to watch 3. It wouldn't matter. I think the only thing that makes you think that it might be connected still to 3 and not just 1 and 2 is that he's got like a red-headed girlfriend, which he kind of had in that movie. That is like the only thing.
Okay.
From what I remember. Admittedly, once we rewatch it to review it, I mean, I don't know what we'll end up with. So yeah, the point I was wanting to make is that the gap between Terminator 1 and 2 is actually bigger than Terminator Genesis to Dark Fate. That is like the sort of time span we were dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like just recently that I watched that pile of flaming garbage of a film.
Not going to be a long
and
time.
now I'm going to have to do it again.
Hey, I was angry after Terminator Genesis, so you can look forward to that discussion.
We're going to have such a mad, angry review.
There's going to be so much passion in that review. It's going to be great. Not that there won't be passion in this one, because it's Terminator 2, but it's passion in the other direction. There's passion on the positive side. Because Terminator 2 is one of the best sequels ever made. And I think I can say that quite comfortably without anyone yelling at me. I'm not saying it's the best. There's a debate for another time. In fact, not only I will actually say out right here, it's not the best sequel ever made because it's not the best sequel that James Cameron's made. Boom.
We'll see. Avatar 2 is coming out next year, right?
I was referring to Aliens, thank you very much, but sure. Sure. So Yeah, Terminator
But the
2.
best sequel that's ever made is technically Creed.
Is that a sequel or a spin-off?
It's a sequel. Rocky's in it, and it's
So,
played by Sylvester Stallone.
so what? But Buffy was in Angel, which is the spin-off of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the hit television show, I'll have you know.
You don't think that it's a sequel to the Rocky films? I do. Because even the spin-off, like for the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel or whatever, uh, clearly not a hit with everybody.
Or whatever. How dare
Yeah,
you?
like Buffy was in it, but she wasn't in it. She's like in like 3 episodes or something, right? Like just whenever they wanted ratings to boost.
She was
But
in
Rocky's been in all of the Creed films, which are two.
she was in 2 episodes in season 1, and that was it. She never came back after that.
There wasn't like another crossover.
There was crossovers, but they did it in inventive ways. They had a crossover in season 5 of Buffy and season 2 of Angel, where it was the flashbacks of the vampires, which was set in like centuries ago. They crossed over, but not the present day stuff. Which that was a really neat.
Sounds fascinating.
This is absolutely fascinating. You shut your mouth. Shut your damn mouth. Just because Buffy is better than Star Trek, I don't want to hear the jealousy. Okay.
I don't think you couldn't even say that clearly. I mean, I didn't hear it clearly. It just came out like that's all I heard.
Terminator 2. Terminator 2.
Judgment Day.
Judgment Day, yes, is a sequel which obviously flips the roles where Arnold is back, but now he is the protector, and we have a new Terminator T-1000 as the villain, and we've advanced. Is it set in 1991? I think it is.
I think so. It looks very 1991.
No, actually, it can't be. It's definitely set later. John Connor's too old. John Connor's not 7 or 6.
Oh yeah. Oh, is it 97?
It's not 97 yet, I don't think, is it?
Well, that is when Judgment Day happens, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
August 29th, 97.
Yeah. But they mention as well that Miles Dyson creates his chip, and they start putting it in computers in 1995. So it's before 1995.
Okay.
That's a good
Okay,
point.
so somewhere between 91 and 95.
But that's the thing, though. 1994, John Connor would be 9. John Connor's not 9. How does the timeline work? Did we just stumble upon a plot hole? What?
Uh-oh.
John Connor's like
Watch
12
out,
or
10
13.
out of 10.
He's like 12 or 13, though, right? Like, I'm not mad here.
Well, the first one came out when? Like 82?
84.
84? So he would have been, yeah, pretty young. Whatever. We'll let it slide.
Yeah, we'll let it slide. But I'm just saying, like, anyway. So yes, so yeah, similar setup to the first film. Good guy sent back, bad guy sent back. One or both are Terminators, both in this case, and Sarah Connor's advanced. Of course, she's had a lot of development in the off time. We meet John Connor for the first time, and yeah. I guess that's the spoiler-free description. That's just so weird. I've never had to talk about Terminator 2, like worrying about spoilers before. Everyone's seen it. Yes, I mean, I suppose I'll ask the question as much as it doesn't seem like a worthwhile venture. Tara, do you enjoy Terminator 2 Judgment Day?
Yeah, I love it. Of course I do. It's a great movie. It's like a pinnacle of action films. It changed action movies forever. And then it gave us 2 great car chases and special effects that were used for later on. I don't know if you watched like behind the scenes stuff like on television growing up, but they always used footage from T2. And I can tell you the exact scenes when we get to spoilers.
Sure. I don't know if I ever saw that on TV, but I did extensively watch the features on the Ultimate Edition DVD back in the day when I had it. And in fact, interesting tidbit, because we should mention what cuts we watched for this.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's interesting, because you watched the special edition for the first time ever.
Yeah, I thought, why not? I've never seen it. And yeah, it's okay. There's a really big scene that's in there that's not in, I don't think, the original cut because it seemed very new to me.
Yeah, we'll talk about because I know fairly well which.
Is it spoilers if it's the scene that gets cut from the theatrical version, though?
I mean, the special editions in enough circulation that I'd argue, yeah, because it's just as valid, I guess.
All right.
Um,
So I won't say what it is.
yeah. I mean, we won't be doing too much of a spoiler-free section here, I don't think, because there's not a whole lot to say before we get to the actual plot. But I watched the theatrical cut because I prefer the theatrical cut. I think the pacing's better.
I can see that.
So typically, and the funny thing is that for a long time I had no choice. I had to watch the special edition because when I was young and I had it on VHS, right, which was taped off TV, which is notable because obviously it was pan and scan because this was way before widescreen was a thing at home. The title when it comes on screen, you know, the two metal shutters that come in and go clank, and it's like do 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 do, right?
Dun dun dun
Right.
dun.
It says Terminator 2 Judgment Day across the screen, right? On the widescreen, like the proper aspect ratio, which everyone should be watching it in now because there's no excuse. That goes alt left to right, it completely fills the screen. VHS pan and scan version, you can't read the whole title. You just see the middle of it. They didn't even bother
Just
doing.
like zoom out or anything?
No.
I guess not. Or like go across?
No, they didn't even bother doing that. They you just don't see the whole title. And I remember as a kid being confused and wondering why you only saw the middle of the title, and it wasn't until later when I learned about aspect ratios and pan and scan and so on and so on.
Yeah. I had this on VHS as well, but I had the like official. I didn't tape it off television. Not that I didn't do that for plenty of films, but like this one, I think was a Christmas gift to my brother,
Sure.
so we had it and we watched it until it was just nothing but snow.
I think I had like 3 official tapes, and then I had literally hundreds of taped off TV movies.
Yeah.
That was basically my movie watching. So I had one of the first DVD I ever bought that didn't come in a DVD player back when this was about 2001, 2002, something around there. So middle school kind of age, to put it into silly American terms.
American terms.
Yeah. The first DVD I ever made a point of going and buying was Terminator 2. I wanted it. And it was the Ultimate Edition, and really good double disc set, right? However, there was one negative versus the US version of this exact same set.
No commentary?
No, the commentary was there.
That's always the thing I want from DVDs.
Me too. That's my favorite feature as well. But the thing that was missing was the theatrical cut, because the US DVD had seamless branching so that you could pick either theatrical or special edition and you could watch either version. The UK DVD was the same, except you couldn't do that. It was just a special edition cut. So for a long time, that was the only option I had. So I saw it a bunch of times because it was Terminator 2. Of course, I watched it several times. However, by the time I was in my later teens, I had a multi-region DVD player, and they released an Extreme Edition DVD in the US, which again had the different cuts. I imported that just so I could have the theatrical cut because I like the theatrical cut more. Luckily, the Blu-ray has the option of both, which is what I have now. But
Yeah, I went with the special edition not only because I hadn't seen it before, but it actually took me a long time before I saw the special edition of Aliens, another James Cameron sequel, and those deleted scenes that were added back into the special edition really like changes a lot of the motivation of characters and stuff. So I thought, well, let me see what this one offers because
Sure.
it's the same director, but I don't think it really adds all that much.
not a whole ton. There's one pretty good scene that would have been nice to keep, but other than that, not so much. The funny thing about Aliens is that I'm of like a 50-50 on Aliens, because I think the added stuff about Ripley's daughter is so important and essential.
Oh yeah, like I had no idea that she had a daughter.
Yeah. The stuff that I wish, like I wish I got a cut that was like a mix that had that put back in, and maybe because the stuff later on with some turrets, that's just kind of fun, yeah. But the stuff that I actually think I prefer not being there is seeing the base before they go there. Like you see like the family, you see like Newtoner family.
Oh
like,
yeah, that's not necessary. I like when we go in
Not
medias
knowing.
res also.
Yeah.
Or just like what happened here.
Yeah, I like that. I don't like seeing what happened before they get there at all. Like I don't want that.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary.
So Aliens in the middle, where half of it's actually really important and adds a lot to the movie, and then at the other extreme end from Terminator 2, where it's all important and like absolutely never watch the theatrical cut under any circumstance, The Abyss. The special edition is the only one to watch because the movie is
Oh,
missing everything.
I haven't seen that film since it was on VHS also. So I don't know if I've ever seen the special edition.
There's not an anamorphic DVD, never mind the Blu-ray. It is absolutely dire. Like, trying to watch The Abyss, the DVD that currently exists on a modern TV, is like watching a 240p YouTube video. It is abysmal. I've complained about
I'll
this
wait.
before. I know. I love that movie, and I've not watched it in like 15 years because I'm waiting for a better version that I can actually watch. Cameron, pause Avatar for like 2 days, go and approve the HD master, which you've admitted is sitting on your goddamn desk, and
Oh yeah.
let me get my Blu-ray. Oh dear. Anyway, so there's some backstory into my various editions of
I mean, he
Terminator
has to
2.
like there has to be like an anniversary or something because when Titanic came like had 5 anniversaries, like he kept re-releasing it in theaters and on DVD and Blu-ray and HD, 4K or whatever. I mean, he's got to do it, right? Just come on, Fathom Events, put on an anniversary of The Abyss
Yeah,
and force him to do it.
anniversary of the best. That's a great idea, Tara. Do you know what would be a great time? The 30th anniversary. Do you know when the 30th anniversary is?
I think it's past.
It's this year.
Oh, really?
I'm
Come on, Fathom. You still have time.
I'm pretty sure it was 89 it came out. No, it is because it came out the year I was born. Yeah. I'm 30, so is the Abyss. Great movie. Anyway, so without spoilers, then just talking about what works in Terminator 2. Obviously, the cast that come back are great again. Arnold, Linda.
I heard.
Oh,
Okay, yeah. So Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton comes back, and she is so different from her previous character. I don't think this is spoilers yet, but like she is super ripped. I heard she had had a baby like 2 weeks before she made the decision that she was going to work out for this film to become super ripped, and she only had 4 months to do it. That is insane. Like even I heard that because Arnold like said it in an interview once, and Arnold was impressed, like very impressed. He'd
that
never seen a transformation that fast before, and that's coming from Arnold Schwarzenegger.
you know
That
that
is so awesome.
that sounds to me like Christian Bale level of body like changes.
Yeah, but no one made a fuss about it, you know? I mean, everybody admired her when the
Sure.
movie came out, but like,
Well, I
yeah,
think the reason why everyone admires Christian Bale is because he constantly goes back and forth for every single movie, where he goes from being muscly to.
yeah, he's a chameleon, but nobody is impressed by it anymore. Now it's just expected.
Yeah, well, I've lost like a little bit of weight, and I feel like I've moved the earth to make that happen. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's true.
it's
I mean, I'm
difficult.
still impressed, but like Christian Bale, I think he's just made of elastic.
Yeah, he can just do it. He can just do whatever
He's
he
a water
wants.
balloon human. I don't think he's real.
I love the idea that when he was doing American Hustle, because he had to get like overweight for that. That he was like, "Oh, I can just eat as many donuts as I want for the next like 4 months. This is gonna be great."
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Vice, although I think he wore a fat suit for Vice.
Vice was an interesting one because he completely changed his face as well. He did a lot of prosthetics in that, I think. Um,
Yeah.
but no, cast coming back are really good. The action is good. I mean, obviously, one of the things we have to talk about between 1 and 2 here is the budget increase, because Terminator 1, I believe, was a $6 million budget, 6 or 7.
Amazing.
Yeah, ridiculous how good that movie is on that budget. And then
Just to have the like skeleton alone. Yeah.
yeah, and then Terminator 2, notably in the future scene at the start, has tons of metal endoskeletons because they've got a budget. In fact, if I remember my trivia right, Terminator 2 was the highest budgeted movie of all time when it came out. Because it was 100 million, which at the time was like 100 million for a movie, whereas now that's like medium sized budget.
Yeah, I mean they had so many practical effects, plus the very beginning stages of like computer effects.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think if you actually have to go back to the first movie that had CG, you're going back to like technically a movie from like the 70s, which because it came from a computer, it counts as CG, even though it's not exactly what we think of as CGI. Of course, though, we have to mention the Abyss here again because the Abyss did
I
have
know,
CGI as
with the
well.
water face.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I've seen this so many times in the like behind the scenes of movie
Yep.
magic on TV. It's always the abyss face, water face thing, and then it's T2 where he's like liquid metal ing around, and there's like two scenes they always show, and then it's Jurassic Park, and they're always showing the scene with the Gallimimus running,
hmm
and like the kids and Sam Neill are like running away, and there's just these cones coming out of their heads, and so like it follows everywhere they look so they know where to add the dinosaur. I've seen that so many times. I can't watch that scene without seeing cones coming out of their heads now.
That was right around the time that Coneheads came out as well.
Yeah.
There's crossover potential. That's what I'm saying.
Narfel the Garfok. Ooh, aliens. We should do that one.
I
I
haven't
mean,
seen.
technically they come from France, but
Yeah, I haven't seen Coneheads since I was like 10, so I mean, I don't even know if I like it or if it holds up. I have no idea.
Snarfling the Garthok, that line holds up.
Sure, sure. And you already talked me into Rocket Man, and I don't know if that was a good idea.
I didn't talk you into that. That was from the creator of Masterpiece, Chernobyl. It was relevant, and it was a great movie.
So, now you're right. Practical effects all over the place, and one of the things that's great about this is that the CG has kind of aged. Like I always like applaud it for not overdoing it because it really only uses CG when it needs to. Because if it can do it practically,
Yeah.
it does it practically, and all the practical effects hold up. There's two in particular watching it this time that I thought, or three actually, that just the practical effects that just hold up so well. They look real, and I'm like, this is not aged a day in terms of these practical effects. Not a day. They look phenomenal. Stan Winston
Is it?
is a monster.
Yeah. Is it the like Cronenberg scene? You know what I'm talking about?
I think I know what you're talking about. What's the Cronenberg
Okay.
scene?
Well, wait.
Okay. I'm sure when you reference what Cronenberg thing you're talking about, I'll clock it, but that may still spoil it.
It's
So
like Metal Cronenberg.
okay, sure, okay, yes, okay, yes, that's one of them. Yes, very good.
It looks awesome.
So no, practical effects are great. CG's good for. I mean, it's impressive for its time. Obviously nowadays, like I'm looking at it and going, yeah, I can see it looking a bit ropey compared to modern CG. You know.
Sure. It's passable though, and like
Yeah.
you said, they don't overdo it.
Yeah. Well, I don't hold it against it. Like I'm not sitting going, blah, blah, you know, effects that are very good or anything like that. Like no, like at the time they were revolutionary. At the time they were blowing people's minds, for very good reason. So no. If I'm going to like compare it to the first one and like, because I said quite openly in the last review that I prefer Terminator 1. It's something that I've like, as a kid I didn't, but as an adult I've come to appreciate Terminator 1 more. And I'll get into maybe a couple of the little things as well in the plot as we go through it. But if I'm just a sort of blanket statement, is I do think the pacing is just perfect in Terminator 1, and in Terminator 2 there is just a little bit of a weird sort of lull that then tangents off to the left. So
Yeah,
the plot, like
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
because the back half of this movie, it almost feels like a different movie. It almost feels like we've just went in a different direction from what the movie was for the first half, which I think is intentional. I don't think it's a mistake. It's just I don't think it's as neat or as works as perfectly as Terminator 1.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key phrase there, as perfectly. Still great, just not as perfectly. So no. But yeah. So that's spoilers. Full spoilers for Terminator 2. Okay, so first thing I want to say, how is it that Terminator 2, one of the biggest movies of all time, one of the most beloved classics of all time, how is it from a production company that I have never seen in another single film?
That you've never seen what?
The production company at the start, the logo is like Karolko or something like that. It's this like C thing.
Yeah,
And
the C thing.
yeah, and like I literally every
I was
time.
wondering, like, have I seen that before, or like in other movies, or have I just watched this movie a lot?
Yeah, no, like I only know it from this movie, and I have nostalgia for it because of Terminator 2, but I have literally never seen it in another film.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that was. What was Orion for the first
The
Terminator?
first one, yeah.
Huh.
And they did a few things. Like Orion weren't,
Yeah, they do a lot of like horror movie stuff too, right?
they did RoboCop. I think they did
RoboCop's so good.
a lot of low budget stuff. Yeah, right. RoboCop's an episode someday. We'll do all the RoboCops.
Well, hold off.
But before Verhoeven's sequel next year.
Ooh, that's right. Okay. Um, yeah, I don't know what that was, but you're right. Like I did notice it. I'm like, this is so familiar. Like, what else have I seen it on? But I might just be that I've watched this movie many times.
Joe is amazing about this movie. Is like before I put it in, I was like, oh, I wasn't like not looking forward to it, but like, I wasn't excited either. I was like, yeah, Terminator. I've seen it 100 times, like Terminator 2, whatever, right? I put it in, and that logo comes up, and then after the logo, it's the shot of the cars coming down the highway, and you just hear the dun dun, and I'm like, oh, I'm into it. like it comes
Yeah.
flooding back, like all the
I'm
feelings.
not into the narration, and I think this is like a 90s thing where they felt like the
Mm.
audience is too dumb. They're going to need setup. You can't just put them into a situation or a scenario that's different from their reality without giving them explanation up front. I don't
Well,
think it's necessary.
for the record, though, Terminator 1 did have the explanation as well. It just wasn't narration, it was text.
Yeah, it was text.
Yeah.
And I guess because of the budget, maybe it needed it, but I don't think this one does.
Sure. Sure. Um,
And
it,
it kind of comes off a bit clunky. Like I love Linda Hamilton in this movie. She's so good. But I don't love her reading it. I don't know what it is.
is it just the opening narration, or is it every time she
Both.
narrates?
Yeah.
Every time, okay. Um,
Well, I mean, like the opening and closing for sure.
because there's one in the middle where she's talking about like the Terminator being kind of a father figure.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think
Yeah.
you
I
get
don't know if
that
that's
with.
really necessary. I think if she's like looking at her son playing with an older man, like I think we can kind of get that from it enough from her acting.
Okay.
But, I think it's kind of a tropey thing that died out in films. And I think there's a reason why. It feels dated. It feels like a movie from this time. And I don't think it's necessary.
I don't think you're wrong, but the funny thing is that one of the things that happens with movies like this, where you grow up watching, I started watching Terminator 2 probably like 5 years old, and I watched
Sure.
it so much as a kid, I watched it so much as a teenager, that like everything's just so ingrained in my brain that the idea of changing something like this and
It's
taking it
supposed
out,
to be there, though,
yeah,
Tara.
it's
Yeah.
supposed to be there. It's always been there, Tara. Don't you understand? This is Terminator 2. It's Terminator 2. Um, so but I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. It doesn't really need to be there. I will say though, I love the opening shots, and it's one of these things we're watching it now, and I'm thinking about it a little bit more critically because we're going to talk about it, and like it's going to be an episode, and cuts to the playground and the girl on the swing, right?
Hmm.
And then it comes back later, of course, during the opening titles where the opening titles are coming over the shots of the playground on fire, right? Um, and that's a little story in and of itself that we see the playground and then we see it on fire. But what I love about it is that later on in the film, when Sarah Connor has her nightmare, and in the theatrical cut, it's just one nightmare, but there's in the
Yeah.
special edition, there's an earlier one with Michael Biehn coming back. No, everything
I
else.
know. I didn't know he was in this movie.
I know, it's crazy, right? It's nice to see him, but the scene's pointless. I don't think the scene's necessary at all. Um,
It's not, but it is nice to see him work again.
yeah, and his green trench coat and everything. He's
It's
all
the same clothes, yeah.
yeah, it's
I mean, it
great.
makes sense as to why, but like,
But I love the idea that later on when we see her dreaming again, it's her watching the playground like burn. Is like no that this thing from the start, this idea of like her obsession with this playground and the idea of watching it burn in a nuclear fire is the motivation for all of her thing throughout. Because I don't think the movie is solely hers as Terminator 1 was. I think there's more of a blanket ensemble arc here because I think it's almost equal to the Terminator's movie in that he also has
no,
an
but
arc.
she's the character that we know from the first one. I mean, clearly we know Arnold Schwarzenegger also, but he is supposed to be different, and it's still her journey. It's because we know Terminator 1, we follow Sarah Connor, and now we see her as this like badass version that we've never seen before. We're still following her.
Oh sure, but I think it's more equal this time, like because I think the first movie it's her movie and there's no It's not even a debate. This time, I think the Terminator is almost on equal footing with her, in the sense that they both have arcs, and they're both essential to the core theme of the movie, which is humanity. And I'll talk about that a bit more later, because we're just talking about the opening right now. But so you have a future war sequence at the start, and unlike the first movie, there's not like a couple of flashbacks throughout, because there's no Kyle having flashbacks. There's no, Kyle having nightmares. Although, what I think is really interesting to me, though, is that when Sarah does have her dream and she falls asleep, because she's literally watching like her friend like play with his son, like his little boy. It's very reminiscent to Kyle falling asleep in the first film when he's watching the machines and the tractors and stuff, and he starts thinking about the future war. So I thought that was a nice little thematic touch between their experiences in the two films. But I just wanted to mention the future war scene because you can tell the budget's much higher because there's tons of endoskeletons, going around.
So many skulls.
There's so many laser beams and flying machines and things flipping and exploding, and it's a fun little like sequence. And the sad part is like when they announced Terminator Salvation, I was a little bit excited because I'm like, future war movie.
You want to see this war, yeah.
And it didn't feel anything like this.
No, it was like, welcome to Black Hawk Down with Terminators.
So, like all the guns here are laser beams. Where were the laser beams in Terminator Salvation?
Oh, you're right. I don't remember.
I don't remember laser beams in that movie. Maybe I just
the plasma rifles. Yeah.
Yeah. I want beams. I want pew pew pew. So we come Arnold's arrival. Very reminiscent again to the arrivals in the first film. One of the things interesting here is that he has a new main theme, right? Instead of the boom 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 from the first film, he instead has it's almost like a metallic. It's like a hammer hitting a bit of metal. It's like a ding.
Yeah, but there's a different sound for the T-1000, but it's something similar but more sinister.
He's way different. I'm just talking about Arnold.
It's almost like a steel drum for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Because actually, there's one moment in the film actually where I wish they used the theme from the first film, and I forget what it was now. There was one moment.
Maybe it'll come back.
Yeah, maybe it'll come back when I get to the scene. So as we know from the first film, he has to go get some clothes, and he goes to this biker bar, and
I need your clothes, your boots, and your bike. It's my favorite thing to say to people.
I believe it was your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle, just for the record.
It's true. I like saying bike.
No, it's a great scene.
I can't say motorcycle. It's too long of a word for me to keep the accent.
What's interesting about this scene, and I remember some little tidbits I remember from commentaries and whatnot, is they didn't want Arnold to kill anyone in this opening scene, even though theoretically there's no reason why he shouldn't, just because they didn't thematically want him to be murdering people.
Because it's not till later when John tells him, no, don't kill, that
exactly,
he doesn't, right? But still, it works for the contrast between seeing him and seeing the T-1000 who instantly kills.
Oh, sure, yeah, absolutely. Although I do think the movie, at least on a first viewing, is supposed to make you question like which one's the good one, like before they get to John. I think it is kind of doing that, but so you get Bad to the Bone. Can't let it take a man's wheels, son.
Did you recognize that guy?
I didn't. Who is it?
He was the Santa Claus in Trancers.
Get out!
Yeah.
How did you recognize him?
No, but I was looking up the cast, and I just kind of stumbled across it.
Jeez.
And I was like, oh my God, it is him, because I looked up the two pictures. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Holy crap. All right, well, fair enough. There you go.
Yeah. If you want to see our review of Trancers, it's only $1 a month.
On patreon.com/MaleFuzzTV. Speaking of bonus episodes, actually, we did Judge Dredd, 1995, the first one. The director of that, Danny Cannon, is directing episodes of Pennyworth right now, because his name popped up in the credits this week when I was watching that, and I was like, holy shit.
More reason for me now to watch it.
Yeah, Danny Cannon popped up, yeah. Still doing...
The guy's still working.
He's still working, yeah, working all these years later. I looked up his
Good for him.
IMDb. He has like tons of CSI credits. Like he's been in CSI for years. Well, it was on, so
Those shows make money.
yep. Too much money. People need to watch better TV. Anyway, so Arnold gets his bike, he goes off. But I think the important thing to note here, as much as it's cool that he takes the sunglasses, right? Well, Bad to the Bone's playing. There is actually a really neat little touch here in the storytelling where in the first film he starts off without sunglasses and he gets them halfway through after he's injured to like disguise his eye, right? So the idea that he becomes less human as the movie goes on, whereas in Terminator 2 he essentially starts with the sunglasses and they come off like halfway through, and it's like he's becoming more human throughout the film.
I see. Plus, he looks really cool.
Plus, he looks really cool.
Maybe it's just the music choice,
Yes.
but he does look really cool.
Bad to the bone. So, yeah, and we get the introduction of the T-1000, who arrives. And in HD, you can see a little bit of his ball sack if you're really looking for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll try it again.
Oh yeah, you into Robert Patrick? You into the sleek death machine?
Didn't notice. No.
Joe, I like about T-1000 this actually is I like that not only is obviously he more unassuming because he's a smaller guy, which was originally the idea for the Terminator in the first one, is that he's also better at blending in because he has these little mannerisms with people when he's talking to them that feel more natural.
He is really good at, yeah. So that is it. Like that's the improvement, right? Not
Yeah.
only is he made of liquid metal, but he's also very good at interacting with people. So he's just better at playing off as human.
Yeah.
Like he's even like talking to kids at some point, and like kids would notice. Although he's not perfect because he's not able to recreate some people to the where it's believable for others who know them.
Oh sure, yeah. Because when he goes to talk to the foster parents, he has these little things where he looks at the photo and goes, "That's a good looking boy," and it's just this earnest little compliment he gives them, and
Right.
it's like
We never got that from the T-800.
Yeah, the Arnold would never do that. So, it's just this little touch where Arnold's still this rigid, speaking very robotically, affirmative, and
Yeah. Plus, he's all about like the shortest path from A to B. Like he's just the epitome of like brute strength. Not only does he look like it, he's designed for it, but clearly he's programmed for it too. Like everybody's trying to use codes to get into doors and he just walks through them, Yeah, a very different type of Terminator.
Yes. So I like that. I like that little touch. Also, nice little touch on the police computer when he looks up John Connor. It says mother, Connor, Sarah, father unknown. Just a nice little.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Just a neat little thing. So we meet John Connor, little Edward Furlong, and his friend with the ginger mullet, and they're little hellraisers. They're stealing money out of ATMs and going to the arcade to spend their $300. Good fun.
Yep, let's go to the mall because it's the 90s.
Yeah. So the opening movie is very introductory because we meet John Connor, we meet both Terminators, and we meet Sarah Connor, of course, in the hospital, where we see that she's been locked up because she tried to blow up a computer factory, and Silberman from the first movie is her doctor, and is like, I'm going to write a book about you, basically. You're such a crazy case. We hear that she stabbed him in the kneecap a few weeks ago.
Yeah, so she has some rage.
She's doing the classic thing where she's got, and I say classic thing just in the sense that it's become a classic thing from this movie, where she's flipped the bed up and she's doing the pull-ups on the bed.
Awesome.
Neat little thing. When Linda Hamilton appeared in Chuck season 4 as Chuck's mother, when they first found her, they had to break her out of a prison, and it wasn't like super focused on, but if you looked at the security cameras in the background, you could see her doing the push-ups, or the pull-ups rather, in her room. It was a really funny touch.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so actually one of the first big changes of the cuts is here. So Silverman turns to the orderly, creepy lick man. And we'll get to why we're calling him that a little bit.
Licky face guy.
Licky face guy, and says, "I don't want the patients, messing their, trashing their rooms like this. Is that I'll take care of it, Dr. Silverman." And the theatrical cut, that's the end of the scene. And the special edition, they go into the room and beat her senseless with their nightsticks.
Oh, that's an added scene?
That's an
For some
added
reason,
scene.
that seemed familiar to me, but all right. I didn't recognize any of the other big scenes, so I still think this is the first time I've seen it, the special edition.
It's probably just because he's such a shithead and licks her face later that you just figured this was going on anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
I think what's interesting for me, though, watching it, is like, this was the one time in the whole movie where I felt something was missing, because the way it cut at the end of the scene was like, no, didn't they go in and beat her up? I was like, oh, that must be the extended cut, obviously. Duh. Silly sausage. So we find out that Silverman's not believing her. She's trying to like fake it so she can get out and get to minimum security so she can leave and blah blah blah. She wants to get back to John. So I actually, obviously, we have the big meeting scene and the chase that takes place after it, where they're at the mall and both Terminators show up, and there's the neat little touch here that Arnold's walking. He's got his shotgun disguised in a box of roses, because Guns N' Roses did a song for the movie, so they had to do a Guns N' Roses thing.
I didn't think about that. Oh yeah, back when movies had songs that were made for film. Yeah, the credits.
Yep, and the weird thing is, some of them you don't even necessarily believe they were written for the movie. I don't think this one was. What does "You Could Be Mine" have to do with the plot of Terminator 2?
No, I don't know. It was just the era of MTV, If we get a hit band to make a song that's exclusive for our film, it'll promote our movie.
You mean back when MTV just showed music videos and didn't, and concerts, and didn't have original programming that was like Scream the TV series?
I don't know. I've never seen that.
I watched some of it.
So they just usually lock teenagers into a house with cameras and see what happens.
Yes, and then have a lot of lawsuits later about what teenagers did on TV. Yes. So you get the big blow off with her at either end of the hallway, and he's like, "Get down," and
Get down.
And do you know what I love about this, just from a mechanical point of view compared to the first movie, is that immediately we have this different thing where, okay, Kyle in the first movie had to protect Sarah, and he had to like race her out there. It was just by the skin of his teeth, right? Mm-hmm. Arnold, Terminator, his first tactic here is to just turn around and shield John from the bullets because he can take the hits, and immediately it's like, well, this is completely different from the first movie. All of a sudden, we have a hero who can take all this punishment in a way that Kyle never could.
He's just a tank.
It's a different dynamic, and that's really nice. And there's a reference to the first movie as well. When Arnold gets thrown out the window, he kind of gets up the same way that he did in the first one.
Yeah, you're right.
When he went through the window at the club. The co-writer, William Wisher, has got a cameo in that scene. He's holding the camera. He's like the stunned civilian holding his camera.
Oh, okay.
That's
cool.
That's the co-writer.
That's a guy who's read or watched the commentary right there.
He does do the commentary with Cameron. Yes, this is true. It's been a while though. I haven't listened to the commentary in like a decade, so I mean, it's not like it's fresh, but I probably listened to it more than once. It probably has.
I believe you.
Yeah. So we have the big. Arguably one of the best action scenes in the movie. Although, the more I've seen this scene,
I love the scene.
It's a great scene. It's a fantastic scene. But the more I've seen this scene, over the years since I was a kid, like there was times where I always noticed a stunt double, but now I feel like I notice every time there's a stunt double in this scene, like
because of HD.
Because of the HD. Although the one thing that I did always notice as a kid that still bugs the shit out of me is, see when Arnold, so he's in the higher level and he's trying to get to him, and they're on the underpass bit, and T-1000's chasing him in the truck, and John's in his bike, and his bike's not as fast, so he's struggling to keep ahead. Arnold goes down like this thin sort of wall, right, and he goes flying off the end of it, right, and the stunt double as he's flying off the wall is really obvious, but that's not what I'm complaining about. That's fair enough, right? Actually, what I was thinking, that deep fake stuff, I feel like you could go back and fix some stunt doubles with some deep fake. It's so easy.
I don't mind. I mean, it's kind of endearing.
It is. I mean, I don't want them to do that. I'm just saying you could
Like if they did
fix it.
that with Shatner in the arena episode with the Gorn, I would be so upset because I love that you can see his stunt double.
But so here's the thing that bugs me here, right? And I'm sure people, lots of people have noticed this, and will be knowing what I'm about to say. The shot that's sort of a POV of the bike as he's driving
Mhm.
up to it, right, looking at the edge of the wall. It's a point. It's a triangular ending to the wall. It's got a point. When it cuts to the shot from the front where he comes flying off of it, it's not a
Yeah.
point anymore. It's a rectangular ending.
Oh, okay.
And every time I watch this movie, there's just a little bit of me that gets annoyed when that cut happens because it's just so blatant. And I'm like, how did you?
Yeah. Well, wait till we get to Jurassic Park and the editing mistakes that I have, because I
Oh,
have a
oh,
list of many.
there's hey, just wait until my rant about how there's suddenly a giant pit at the side of the road where there wasn't one before. Just wait for my rant on that.
Not just that, but Ian Malcolm teleports like from the top of that pit to the bottom of the pit in a single scene. He does.
Good stuff.
He and the whole truck that he's in teleports. Anyway, that's for another day.
That's what I'll do.
You know, I don't really notice that, but I do really focus on Arnold's face during that scene because I know it's just a mask. And I can't take my eyes off of it.
No, so the stand-up was really obvious, but it's got a bit of a charm to it now. And Joe, I love it. Like, I think the soundtrack in this is great. I think Brad Fiedel came back and did the music. And
Yeah, the soundtrack in this scene in particular with the truck and stuff is really intense. And I don't really know this guy for anything else.
Just Terminator 1 too, pretty much, yeah. In
Yeah.
fact, do you know what I really like about this one is the theme that plays as he goes around the truck and grabs, because I love that shot where he just picks up John Connor and puts him on his own bike. Like, that's a great little moment. But the theme that's playing there, obviously it's kind of playing the notes of the main theme, but it's essentially his hero theme. It plays a few times in the film, and it's always when he's doing something heroic, where he's saving John. It's the
right.
Dun, dun, dun. Like it's like a different like sort of version of the main theme.
Right.
It's a really neat touch, and as I was watching it this time, I was kind of noticing exactly when that played and when because up until this point, the thing that was playing was the his theme. That's the again the hammer hitting the metal thing, right? It's basically his evil theme for this movie.
Yeah, that's all I noticed, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like the truck's driving underneath it's not really an overpass because they're like driving on the LA River. Beautiful, I know, the LA River.
Yes, the empty LA River, yes.
And like when he goes underneath that one bridge or whatever, the overpass, and like it takes out the top of the truck, like, and then he just pops right back up from it. It's such a great scene. And I really noticed the theme there, like, okay, this is the evil guy's theme.
Oh yeah, sure.
And I think it's just like that, yeah, it's like a hammer hitting an anvil, like over and over again. But it's so effective. It's simple and effective and memorable. Really, like yeah. I mean, obviously it's made for you to think about metal.
I remembered when I wanted the theme from T1 to play. I remembered.
Oh.
It's when we're introduced to Miles Dyson, right? And he goes into the vault and he looks at the arm from the first movie.
Oh, he gets the arm.
Right? That should and the reason why I thought of it is because it plays Arnold's like kind of evil sounding theme from this movie, and I thought no, it should be the dun 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 because it's the Terminator 1's arm. It should be his theme that plays. Damn it. Minor nitpick. I'm just saying.
God, do you not like this movie or something? You're just kidding.
Oh dear. So it's a great chase scene. I love that like after the truck explodes, the tire rolling out, and like Arnold's got the gun. In fact, little mistake that happens here, well, that almost happens, is Arnold puts his gun away without looking back because he's still staring in case the T-1000 comes out, and he actually brushes John Connor's head with it, like a millimeter over, and he'd have just smacked him in the face.
He's just that good.
Credit to Edward Furlong for not breaking character because it was like really close to just like hitting him. But again,
yeah,
it's one of those little things where I've just seen the movie so much that I noticed this now, and I'm like, hey,
and this is one of the scenes where like during the behind the scenes like movie magic episodes, that they would always play on TV. They would always show the T-1000 walking out of the fire and
Mm-hmm.
then turning back into Robert Patrick. I couldn't think of his name.
Very good. No, great moment. Because what I like about this movie is that it keeps establishing the rules of what he is. Because we've not heard Arnold explain it yet, what he is. We've just seen, various things. Liquid metal. It's obviously something to John as well. Like immediately going, wait a minute, you're a Terminator. My mom's not crazy. Like this is all true. This wasn't just some nut job story.
Yeah, because that's how he thought of his mom. Like the full during the beginning of his introduction, it's just been him explaining that his mom's in. Like it sounds like he admires his mom because he hates his foster parents, but really he doesn't because she's a kook.
Yeah.
In his mind.
Yeah. And so we get some of the rules laid out about him being liquid metal, that he can't just. And again, we get the reveal that not because in Terminator 1, Arnold could mimic voices, and he does it here again briefly. But T-1000 can actually mimic people's image. He can just turn into a person with these abilities, and so that's obviously very intimidating. We get that rule. The foster parents are killed. Jeanette Goldstein, of course, was the foster mother from Aliens. Xander Berkeley, who's not in any other Cameron movies, but I know him from other stuff, is the foster father.
Do you think she gets this a lot where somebody comes up and says, "Hey, Jeanette, ever been mistaken for a Hispanic?" And she gets to say, "No, have you?"
That wasn't the line in Aliens.
Yeah, it was.
No, wasn't. Did you ever be mistaken for a man?
I know. That's the joke. Of course, it's always funny when I have to explain it, so.
I'm confused. What's the joke? I don't get why this. Why is it funny to change it Hispanic?
I just think it's funny that she played a Hispanic woman and she's like this freckled, white, like Jewish lady.
Oh, okay. I get it. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Probably would be problematic now.
Yes.
Is
No.
what I'm saying.
Yes, that's fair. That's a fair point. It's a fair point.
Anyway, I'm glad that joke landed really well.
Your failure is funny. Is that a consolation?
Whoa! I don't know about failure. We'll let the audience decide. Right now, my audience is just you.
So we explain some more of the rules here. That he can't turn into a bomb or a gun because that has parts and moving things. Like it's mechanical. He can't do that, but he can turn into shapes. So knives and stabbing weapons. Yes, knives and stabbing weapons. Really cool. But this is also where we get some other rules that are really big deals. Where so John Connor set him back, but he's also programmed to follow himself. So John Connor can basically make him do whatever. He makes him hold up his leg and so on and so on. But we set up one of the core themes of the film here, where these two guys come up thinking that he needs help, and John just says piss off or whatever. And he gets Arnold to deal with them, and Arnold's about to kill them. He pulls out the gun and he's like ready to shoot the guy in the face, and John has to kind of push his arm out of the way and then says, no, you can't just kill people. And this is a really important scene, of course, because why? Because the movie is about Sarah Connor becoming a Terminator and the Terminator becoming a human, right? It's about the humanity and how a human can lose it and how something that's not human can gain it, right? That is what the movie is. That's why they're both so key to what this movie is.
Yeah, it's also about, family. I mean, he is clearly a father figure to John Connor, who's never had one. And I think him trying to explain what the rules are to being human and being civilized is helping him grow to be a better person, because he's already been like a recluse that we've seen, been in trouble, been to juvie, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's good for John as well. And I love how you basically, the whole thing where it's like, okay, human men aren't going to cut it, but the Terminator, the machine, he's the perfect father. It's basically a metaphor for just getting a vibrator. Let's be honest here. That's
no, didn't catch that.
Okay, so we have this point in the film where the themes of the film are really laid out, and obviously, like John says, "I order you to take me to my mum, even though it's dangerous because that's where the T-1000 might go." and very probably will, because it's a really obvious place where John might go. And on the way, he's like, you have to swear you won't kill anyone, and of course you get the sort of dark humor where he shoots the security guard in the legs. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "He'll live." So the movie can be funny at times. It can be. It really can be.
Yeah, the special edition, especially.
Oh, we'll get to the smiling. We'll get to the smiling. So I guess we didn't really talk that much about the scene with Kyle, the nightmare scene.
Yeah, because it starts off with Kyle, but it ends in her having her recurring dream or nightmare.
And I don't think it needs to be recurring. I actually think it's more effective. The one that we get later is more effective if we don't get this one first.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think any of this is necessary. I mean, she sort of explains her dream in the tape, so we know that it's recurring already. And then later on, we get to see her experience it during a very crucial point of the story. So I think it's more, like you said, more effective if we only see it the one time.
Because it feels like it's motivated by what she's looking at later, and then the dream itself motivates her to go and take action to what she's been thinking about. So it just really works for me when it's just the one dream later. But I have a bit of a plot hole to point out here that I really noticed on this viewing. So
Right.
So we have the scenes where they phone the foster parents, right? So we have Terminator and John are phoning the foster parents, and we get the great scene where it's really the T-1000, and she stabs the husband, right? And it's like through the milk carton. Really great effect.
Yeah, it's so good.
Really good. I love the sound effect, like especially in I was watching the 5.1, is you can actually hear the blade hit the wood on the right side of the audio. You hear it in the right area. It sounds so good. So you have that scene, right? And then Terminator's like, "Your foster parents are dead," right? And then we cut to, and I remember this cut specifically because this is why it's a problem, is that it cuts straight to the hospital, and there's police officers talking to Sarah Connor. And they're asking her about they've got photos of the police station from 1984, and they're saying, "Hey, you were here, this guy killed like 17 cops." And then the reason why they're asking this and talking about it is because, hey, these photos are from today. There's photos of the Terminator walking around in the mall, and they're like, no, he's around. And obviously this is a big deal to Sarah because it's like, oh, there's a Terminator here somehow.
Yeah, and I can't protect my son, yeah. Because that was kind of the point of the dream with Kyle Reese, right? Was that he was there saying, you can't be here because you need to protect John.
Yeah.
And if you're here, you can't do that.
But we don't need it because this scene does it on its own. We don't need the dream sequence. Like, this is enough. It's like,
that's true.
He needs
but that
help.
was like the point of having it there in the first place.
It's the same with taking out the beating, is that seeing the guard lick her face is enough to like not feel bad for him when she's beating the shit out of him with a stick. Like, it's like,
it's like, what other kind of skeevy things do they do?
Yeah, we get enough to know that he's a scumbag, and we can relish in he's beaten. So yeah, it cuts straight from them finding out the foster parents are dead on the phone to the police officers showing them these photos. And in this scene, because it's not a problem yet, but the reason why it's a problem is then they say, your son is missing and his foster parents are dead. Okay, there's some time passed between the scenes, you'll say, fine. But then we cut back to the Terminator and John, and they're still next to that payphone. They've not moved yet. So I'm just questioning here, where exactly in the timeline did the police get alerted to the fact that these two people are dead in the house?
James Cameron, better fix that.
It's an old Jurassic Park
for the ultimate
reference.
Special Maximum Plus Edition.
That's an old Jurassic Park reference.
And also the Terminator 2.
Oh, sure, but the noise was Jurassic Park. Yeah.
Yeah. It is, but it's also like something people do. Anyway, yeah, go on.
Since we're on Jurassic Park, hello, John. Hello, John. Hello, John. I really hate that man.
Nailed it.
Oh, dear, I'll just do Hammond lines forever, shall I? Maybe people will just put money in a hat for me. I'll just busk doing Hammond lines. So that was just something, and it's not a big deal. It's just something I noticed, and I feel like the reason why it's probably like that is because they had to I imagine the scene probably came later, where the police were talking to her, but they wanted to split up the scenes of her in the hospital so it wasn't like a big chunk. So they put it earlier. But the end result is that it's kind of weird that the police in this scene know about the fact that the parents are dead, even though time that doesn't seem to have passed since the T-1000 was literally just there.
Right.
But whatever.
Yeah, it's probably still a better paced film, which is maybe more important.
No, I agree. It is. I will happily let like a few things slide because if it makes the pacing better, it's worth doing. So T-1000's at the hospital. He does his famous because again we keep seeing more abilities. We see that he can actually like blend into the floor and then rise up. We see him stab the guard in the eye with his needle finger. Really, really grisly. And it's funny because this movie is more of an action movie than the first one. It's less of a horror movie, but there's still moments like this that feel like a horror movie. There's still moments where it's like, no, he's still kind of a slasher villain in some ways.
Yeah.
So.
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think people remember it more for the action because the action scenes that we get are so big, and like you said, the budget has never been seen before by that time. That I think that's what it's more remembered for. But yeah, there are some really terrific horror elements to it. That's one of them. Anytime anybody gets stabbed in the face, really, yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Stabbed in the face. So Sarah's got this whole plan to escape. She beats the guy in the face because she's got like a safety pin or a paper clip, I think it was, to unlock her shackles. Shackles.
That's all it takes.
Her restraints.
Shackles.
Don't use shackles in mental hospitals anymore. She broke free from her shackles and the patriarchy.
Yep. It's a hospital in 1910.
She has Silverwood captive and all the rest of it. We get this great scene where she almost gets out. She's locked the guards behind the door, and she gets to the elevator, and out walks the Terminator. And do you know what I love about this is that as much as we've seen that she's so strong, she became so strong by the end of the first film. She's clearly a badass in this one.
She's instantly terrified and goes right back to being the old Sarah Connor, and is running back towards the guards who are trying to catch her and don't believe her. She
falls to the floor in complete horror. She reverts back to Sarah Connor. It's such an effective scene. And it takes John kind of trying to convince her, and obviously Arnold says the line. He says, "Come with me if you want to live," which neat reference to the first film. But what's neat about it though is that the person who said that to her last was the one who was there to protect her, and so was Arnold. And it's like, and it's not that he's doing that intentionally, but like it's a thematic thing between the two films where. We know, we already know because of John, but like we know beyond a shadow of a doubt here that no, he is the hero Terminator in this movie. Like there's no.
Well, it's the first sign that she gets that he's there to protect her too. That he's not, because the last time she heard that was from her protector. So it's just a repeat. So it's the first indication to her that something is different about this Terminator.
Oh, pardon me. Absolutely. So you have T-1000 again showing this entire hospital section. Like I didn't realize before, but watching it again today, like this hospital section is like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a showing of all of his abilities, like a showcase. That's the word I'm looking for. Showcase.
Yeah.
It's like a showcase of all of his like advanced abilities because we see him come through the metal bars, and it's the neat little joke where the gun doesn't come through. And he's like, "Oh,
because it's not metal or it's not liquid." Yeah.
Yeah. But we see him get his head split open. We see him do the hands through the elevator. Then they sort of like change to become handles to open. Like just all these little things. We see him do all these extra little abilities, and it like by the time I've done this hospital section, it's like, man, he's got quite a formidable array of things that he can do with these abilities. Yeah. So
there's one other one that I really like that happens later on in the movie that he does, which is the where Arnold like punches him in the head and then he turns to liquid and then his head warps into his hands and now he's holding onto the Terminator instead of it being punched through the head. Like it doesn't matter where you punch him, like it's all the same.
Yeah, the other ones, and that was same very scene actually, is when he gets thrown against the wall, like face first, and he just like
right, and then he just warps it. the right direction
Yeah,
again.
it just flips himself. It's really good.
Yeah, you are just fighting a pile of goo that turns into knives.
Yes, yes, that's exactly what's happening. But the weird thing here is that the T-1000, after this hospital chase, which is a very nice little exit, like stuff in the elevator is really good. John becoming the ammo kid in the back seat whilst like the two adults are like firing just everything they've got into him. Also, the other thing it establishes is that if something breaks off from him, it can reform because you get the one handle on the car, which is really good. But the weird thing about this here is that the T-1000 leaves the movie at this point for a while.
A long time.
In the special edition, especially because a few of the extra scenes are in this next chunk.
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, when I was watching, I was just like, wow, we really slowed down, and we have not seen the T-1000 in a long time.
Yeah.
And I know what they're trying to do. This whole scene is just about establishing a little bit of backstory about how John grew up and what happened to Sarah Connor at the end of the first movie. But you probably want to explain what the scene is first before I keep going.
Oh, the special edition scene specifically, the big scene here, where they have to alter Arnold's chip in his head, right? Because it stops him from learning and advancing. Because it's meant to keep him in line. And John wants to fix this. So he allows them and talks them through opening up his head and taking the chip out. And Sarah is like, once she has it out, is ready to smash it. And John has to like stop her. And it's a really good scene in the sense that John's like, no, if you want me to be this leader someday, if I'm going to make the choices that are going to win this fight, you're going to have to start listening to me at some point. And this is not the call to make. Like, we can use him. Kind of thing, and maybe it is through the eyes of this adoration of like he does look at him like a friend as a father figure or whatever, but
sure. And she still sees him as a machine that can kill them in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, what's interesting in the theatrical cut, there is actually to explain the absence of this scene, there's an ADR line that explains that he's already a learning computer. They actually add in a line well, as well as they're taking bullets out of him, and John's asking him if he can learn stuff. In the special edition, he explains that he can't because of this inhibitor until they change it. In the theatrical cut, he has a line that says, "Yes, I'm a learning computer." He basically just says, "Yes, I can."
Yeah.
So they don't have to do the scene. It's a really good scene. It does drag the pace down here, something awful though, because it really extends it. Because it's a really long. It's like a 5-minute scene. It really piles on here.
It is. I did kind of like it, but I can see why they didn't feel it was necessary. I like it for Sarah's character.
Yeah, fun.
I guess for John too, because he does make that leap forward into being more responsible and being a leader.
Fun bit of trivia here: when they were doing the operation in the mirror, it wasn't actually a mirror because obviously one was really Arnold, and the one that she was going into was like a fake head that Stan Winston did. Her quote unquote reflection was actually her twin sister.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's interesting because I live in an area with like a lot of celebrities live around here and stuff, and Linda Hamilton lives around here, and she came into a store that I was working at like 10 or so years ago, and I wonder if that was her now or her twin sister. It's like, oh my God, that's Linda Hamilton.
Maybe it wasn't her twin. Maybe it was just her sister. But it was definitely like, they got her sister to come in and like be the reflection.
Then I definitely met Linda Hamilton.
Sure. I mean, maybe a twin. Maybe I'm just. I can't.
She has a twin, and she gets told, "Oh my God, I love your work." I'm sure she just says thank you anyway.
Especially if she gets offered free stuff. Oh, I love your work. Can I get a free drink? He's like, yeah, sure, I'll take a free drink.
Yeah. Right.
What's it like working with Arnold? Oh, he's good. He's great.
Yeah. He's not as big as he looks on TV, but yeah.
Actually, I love because after this scene in the theatrical cut, and it's in the special edition as well, but I love it in the theatrical cut because the reason why I think it works better in the theatrical cut is because in the special edition you have this big scene where she wants to kill the Terminator, and John has to talk her out of it. So it's already kind of made the point that she doesn't trust him.
Yeah.
In the theatrical cut, it goes from them having this conversation where they're taking the bullets out to her just watching him up at the window, because he's just on guard. He's at the window, and we have the sort of the time lapse to get to, like, it goes from night to daytime, and she's just staring at him all night. She doesn't go to sleep. She's keeping her eye on him, and this is actually a really quick, subtle way to tell us that. Well, maybe subtle's not the right word, but a quick, simple, visual way to tell us that she doesn't trust him. It's like, no, she is not taking her eyes off of him this entire time. Neat, simple little thing. It's not long after this we get your smelling scene. Now
that he can learn.
John Connor tries to teach him how to smell.
Can you do it?
What, his smell? The answer to that question is no for both of us. Now, admittedly, I almost wish this scene was left in the theatrical cut because it's very quick, and it does the payoff when he smiles when he picks up the minigun.
It does seem like without it that he smiles for really no reason. I mean, we get told that he can learn, I know, but like, it still seems very strange whenever he does do it.
Yeah, I know, it's one that I wish was still in there, but so we learn a lot here about Miles Dyson. We learn a lot about Skynet and like how Judgment Day happens. How it's literally the day it became self-aware that this happened.
Like once it becomes self-aware, it's unstoppable.
Yeah, and it's because the people realize it and try to pull the plug that it's like, well, nuclear time, pretty much. So that's a really interesting bit of trivia. Mythology, I should say, but interesting bit of mythology for the world that I like. So they go to like her friends down south, and they've got this big gun pit, this armory, and Arnold's been taught how to do the thumbs up and high five, and he's asking, why do you cry? And I think that's a really interesting point from his character, is that he's asking questions. He's curious.
Yeah.
He's asking things. I think that's a big deal. So. No, this section of the movie, I think plays better in the theatrical cut because it's just a bit tighter paced.
Yeah, it really slows down when you get to Mexico.
So yeah, no, as I was saying earlier though, I like how it motivates her dream because she's watching someone play with their kid, and it kind of motivates what she's what she's thinking about, and that's what leads her to go back to Dyson. And I do, as much as it is kind of a left turn, because it doesn't feel like we're running from the T-1000 anymore. They've got away. They could literally just keep running. They're like, how would the T-1000 ever really find them? Like, there's no leads for them to follow. And
because there is no fate but what we make.
Because there is no fate but what we make. Yes, the future is not set. Apparently, there's a dark fate though coming.
Ooh,
I know. But no, she goes to kill Dyson. In fact, one of the extra scenes you get in the special editions, there's an extra scene of his family. Before this to introduce them. Whereas in the theatrical cut you just go straight to the house, and the son is playing with the remote control car and whatever. One of the little touches that I love in this scene is that Sarah Connor, as she's walking towards the house after she's already shot into it a little bit, it's Arnold's Terminator theme that's playing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's his theme from the start of the movie, where he was like the more like cold Terminator, and it's one that he's not really using anymore. By the time we get to Cyberdyne and he's like doing all of his stuff, it's playing his heroic theme from the truck chase. Like he's evolved, his music has evolved into something else because he's not that character anymore. But Sarah Connor almost becomes that character. She doesn't care. She's willing to just this cold thing. Because when you think about what she's doing, she's essentially trying to do what Skynet was trying to do. She's trying to stop the future from happening by killing someone who's going to cause it.
Right. Instead of just like talking to them.
Yeah, instead of explaining it, instead of trying to convince them with communication, she's going to kill him. But she can't do it, and that's important. I love that she makes the choice not to kill him before Arnold and John arrive. Like, she makes the choice. Or not even a choice. She just can't do it. She can't pull the trigger.
Right.
Because, again, she sees him with his son. She sees the exact sort of dynamic that she's been thinking about, that she cares about, trying to protect. And it's really neat. So
she's still a total asshole to him, and I love it.
Oh, she is. She's awful to him.
She's relentless.
She's relentless. And Joe, the sad part is that I kind of sympathize with him because she compares him to like building the hydrogen bomb, and I'm like, to be fair, he doesn't think he's building like some
No, he's
like that.
Google, you know? He's just
Yeah,
trying to build something that's helpful. He's the guys that are building the DNA for to clone dinosaurs, you know. They're so preoccupied with whether or not they could, didn't stop to think if they should.
exactly. But yeah, I sympathize with him because he does come across as sympathetic, and when he's shown the Terminator's arm, which was the effect I was talking about earlier, where I was like, you know what, this looks so good. Like
It does.
there's not a part of this effect, this prosthetic from Stan Winston, like because before he rips his skin off, it looks like a real arm. It doesn't look fake.
Yeah.
And then
He's still like moving his fingers and
yeah,
stuff too.
and he just rips it off, and it comes off like a glove. It is
Yes.
so good. Um, yeah, and I love that he does when he hears this afterwards. He's just like, yeah, I'm done. Like I'm going to quit tomorrow. like,
Yeah, okay.
I'm not going to cause this. You kidding me? And they're like, no, we have to destroy everything. Like no one can follow the work. And that's obviously what leads to the final mission of the movie, which is them going to Cyberdyne.
Right. And it's curious because they have to destroy the older version of the Terminator's arm and its chip. And he says, he was working on AI, but after they found that, then that gave him the idea to keep going and to do something else in order to perfect it, So it's curious would it be enough in that case? Because, presumably he's not the only person who's working on this chip. So if you stop AI from developing at this point, would somebody else just eventually figure it out anyway? Like, wouldn't you have to do more to make it a warning to humanity rather than just make everything go away?
Arguably, you're right. I think the reason why the movie gets away with this and not dealing with this is because I think what we're actually going with here is the implication that the only reason why Skynet gets created is because they found that arm in the chip.
Okay,
and it's a paradox.
Sort of what I was going towards too, but yeah.
So if there's no,
I guess it's clean.
Yeah. So
but,
well, there's actually one element that's not clean about it, and apparently,
well, sure. Like if it doesn't happen, then how do you go back in the first place?
Well, not that. Obviously, that's messy because it's just time travel. But no, there's one element that was kind of a plot hole to an extent. That the new movie's going to use in its plot.
Yeah,
to
that there's another Terminator arm.
Yeah, that's in the cog. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're going to use that in the next movie.
There's no chip.
There's no chip. But that's why it took so much longer. That's why it's 2019 and it's still not happened, because they only had an arm to work from.
I see.
They didn't have a chip.
Got melted.
So it took like 30 plus years to get back on track. Hey, at least this won't involve like them sending like a weird Skynet like virus through Google or whatever the plot of Genesis was. Jesus Christ, I hate that movie. Actually, that's one of the interesting things that like kind of dates these movies a little bit. Is that if you make a Terminator movie now as it is, and I'm curious to see if the new one will do this, is like,
yeah,
wouldn't they be able to connect to the internet and like access information? Is that not a thing that we should be talking about?
I don't know. It's interesting to think like Cyberdyne as like a Google company though, where everybody's like, I don't know, riding segways around the campus and they have like their own gyms and stuff, and it's like this super trendy young person place, but they're creating, a monstrous device that will eliminate all of humanity. It'd be like Silicon Valley meets the Terminator. I suppose that was a little bit of Genesis though. But Genesis still had that like corporation greed theme going on.
Yes. It also had evil Terminator John Connor, and Matt Smith was playing like Skynet. Which, by the way, I am so against Skynet having a face and a voice. I am so against it.
Yeah.
He doesn't need one, or it doesn't need one.
No.
Like Skynet should just be a machine, and purely and literally, like no face, no voice, no communication with anything, because it doesn't need to.
Yeah. It's like the box under your television that gives you all the programming. That's what Skynet is, but bigger.
But bigger, yes. It's a big box somewhere, yes. Uh, so they go
With
they
a
go
big on-off switch in the back.
so they go to Cyberdyne, and go in, and they, there's a lot of little nitpicky not nitpicky, but a lot of little things they have to do in here, like get to this key so they can get to the vault and all the rest of it.
Yeah. And that's a weakness of mine. I love movies where two people have to turn a key at the same time.
That's true. That's true. We've talked about this in the context of Crimson Tide before.
Right, right.
I'm sure. So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's usually for a nuke or some kind of secret vault.
Yeah.
But it's always GoldenEye, again, nukes.
But and the big things. I mean, I actually really like the scene where Arnold like blows like the door open because they can't get in, and he just walks through all the gas because he can, and like brings them back gas masks. Yeah, I like that. But I think the big scene in here though, it has to be where the police all show up, and Arnold's like, "I'm going to go and take care of the police," and John Connor's like, "No, but you promised." And Arnold once again smiles. He has a smirk and says, "Trust me." And he goes out and what I love about it is like watching it, knowing what we get at the end of the scene where it says, human casualty 0.0, where he's effectively just doing like warning shots to scare them all away. If you actually
just takes out everybody's kneecap.
Not in this scene, he doesn't hit anyone in this scene.
Doesn't he shoot them all in like the leg?
No, you're thinking of later when he's going to get the truck, when he's in the lobby. In this scene, he literally you can actually see him firing lines in front of them. Like he's never actually tried to hit them. It's really neat. And blows up some cars and whatnot. But it's all just scare tactics. Right. Yeah, and this is the big moment where you know that John's like kind of getting to him in a sense, where he's like, it's okay. He's been ordered, sure, but he's starting to have a bit of a personality. He's starting to have thoughts and whatnot. So, no, that's kind of the big scene here. And obviously, the T-1000 kind of shows up because he went to Dyson's house, and then he came here because he heard it on the police radio, and he's riding about on his bike. So they basically finish what they're doing. Dyson gets shot though, and Dyson has to like blow up the place, all the stuff in the lab, with his very very strict breathing rhythm.
Yeah.
Boom. Boom. The one odd bit of trivia from this explosion that I remember from the special features in the old DVD is that the cinematographer turned to James Cameron because they found this building the road to like blow up. Because this is before CG was used for explosions, that they actually had to find buildings that were ready to be demolished to, set explosives off in them, and they had this explosion. They had like a bunch of cameras in the building, and the cinematographer turned to James Cameron after the explosion and went, "Oh, were we meant to be rolling?" I think that's pretty funny.
Wow.
Ain't no take two for that. So
yeah, it's funny, except that it has happened in movies before.
Oh,
I know it happened on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, where they built a bridge, like the huge bridge that crossed the river that they set explosives for and blew it up, and it looked perfect, except they weren't rolling. And so they had to rebuild a whole bridge again just to blow it up.
Oh, that's pretty funny. It's one of those things, actually. See, when you're watching a really low-budget, shitty movie, like this kind that Mystery Science Theater do, is whenever you see like a really cheap-looking car, you know it's going to blow up, because they got it cheap from like a junkyard because they want to blow it up.
Yeah.
That's why. So we get the next big chase scene now.
Yep.
With T-1000 in the helicopter, and then ultimately in the liquid nitrogen tanker. Very convenient.
Yeah, it's a cool scene.
Yeah. A little bit of trivia here. See when the tanker rams their little shitty truck that they're in, that's got like the little house in the back. So sound effects that are used for movies, like sometimes the Foley stuff will use a lot of random and weird things. One of the things that's in the sound effect when it hits the truck is a lion roar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, weird bit of trivia for you, but it's there. Same with Arnold's shotgun. Arnold's shotgun is a combination of 2 cannons, a shotgun, a pistol, and something else. Like I remember the Foley section of the DVD extras got into it. It was...
What about the?
Oh, I'm sure that I can see them with like tubes making tubes.
The mortar gun or whatever.
His grenade launcher, yeah. Joe, I love actually see it because we kind of skipped over it. See when he's leaving, he has his "I'll be back" line, and he's like, "I'm going to go get a truck." I loved it. So he gets like obliterated with bullets, and he gets touched. So it takes away half of his skin. Another great effect by Stan Winston, by the way, is his head exposed with the metal coming through. I love when he actually just shoots like 2 guys with a grenade launcher because it wouldn't go through them. It's just like it's not like a high velocity round. It's just designed to, land and distribute smoke. But it looks painful. They get like thudded in the back, and it's like, oh. And he even says to someone, "Yeah, hold this," after.
Yeah, right.
He takes off his mask. And then I guess he goes for the keys, and John Connor said earlier, don't rip off the thing, check the thing for the keys, which by the way is such a movie thing. No one in the history no one in the world leaves their keys in the mirror thingamajig, the sunroof, sun guard thing, what do you call that damn thing?
Visor.
The visor. Okay, sure. Yes. Anyway,
you should own a car.
Sure. Yes, I'll go buy a car tomorrow. Thanks for the advice, Tara.
They're really helpful, but bad for the environment. So yeah, go ahead and keep walking.
I'm getting
public
mixed
transportation.
I'm getting mixed signals here.
Yeah.
Getting mixed signals.
I mean, cars are fun, but yeah, they have a cost.
So they end up at the steel mill, which is where the big climax takes place. Very, very exciting. We have, of course, T-1000 being frozen and then shattered with the Hasta La Vista baby bullet. But of course, almost immediately starts to melt again and starts to reform. Great visual.
Mercury on a pool table.
Yep, exactly. And in fact, another great effect actually I thought was T-1000 as he's like breaking up because his legs come off and then his hand comes off because he's like ripping it away from the ground. I thought that looked really good. Still,
is it unusual that he has a look of surprise?
I think that's a sign that this is really like something that's not computing. Like something's really wrong here that he's not used to.
Yeah, because he does start glitching out afterwards. Yeah. But like,
which that glitching is only in the special edition.
Oh, I like it.
I like it as well. It's only just 2 quick little shots of like his feet on the metal grate. His feet keep becoming the grate. They keep morphing.
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was kind of a cool, like, oh, he can be hurt, after all.
Yeah, it's basically a sign that he has taken some there's some effect here from the damage he's taken. It's not just that he's invincible. Maybe they can defeat him, kind of thing. And I love the fight with Arnold. We mentioned that before, where he did all his morphing around. But I love where he actually kind of kills Arnold by like destroying his power source, and it reroutes. Because I love the like heroic theme playing again as he pulls out the pole. It's such a great moment.
It is great.
Yeah.
It's it's one of those like fist pump moments where you're like, oh yeah, I'm rooting for the bad guy from the last slasher movie.
Yeah. Well, and then the other thing that always gets me fist pumping as well is when Sarah Connor's like blasting T-1000 with a shotgun after he's pretending to be her because he stabbed Sarah Connor already. Before Arnold jumped in again, and because he's made
does the
yeah,
I love that little pump that she does too.
Because she's only got one good arm. Her other arm is screwed, so she has to cock it with one arm.
Which is really consistent. Normally, movies like don't do that.
Yeah, it's really great, but it's this great thing where she keeps getting him closer to the edge, and you kind of realize that if he falls into that molten steel, that's probably death. Like that'll probably kill him because this is different from everything else.
One more shot would easily do it.
Every single time I watch this scene, without fail, I'm always secretly kind of hoping that there's one round left in there that she can pull it off. That she can do this and kill another Terminator. But of course, Arnold comes in and saves the day with the last grenade. Which, by the way, another great effect when it's like the T-1000's like blown up from the inside and he's like, his head's up here. And it's great. And he falls in. And one of the great touches when he falls into the molten is like he sort of transforms briefly into all the different people that he's been throughout the movie
Yeah,
as he's kind of like dying. Really neat. Really
it
neat.
is cool. One last glitch.
One last glitch. So we get like the sad ending here at the end of the movie, and it's what I love about this is that Arnold's like, okay, we have to throw in the arm and the chip, and then he's like, no, there's one more chip. And what I love about it is he realizes that himself, so he actually has that thought on his own. And two, when he says to John Connor, I know now why you cry, when John's like hugging him and begging him not to do this, I love that it's because he understands that this is a moment where he would be crying, but he can't. Like,
Yeah.
because earlier on,
And I like that he's not able to terminate himself. Like it's just something he can't do. I mean,
yeah,
it is almost like a human thing. Like I know I have to do this, but I need help. And he asked for help from Sarah to do it. And she, for the first time, like has that, like she's going to do it obviously because it's the right thing to do. But I think she does see him as a human after that moment.
yeah, I think she at least sees that he understands and like
Yeah.
has some kind of feeling that in a way that he didn't before. But because
I mean, the fact that he's able to make this decision, like for her, is enough
yeah,
to be like, okay, like
but it's important though.
you have my respect and my sympathy,
The
like a
crying,
human.
the crying thing is important though because earlier in the film, when he's trying to understand it and John's trying to explain to him, it's pain, but it's not physical pain. It's different. It's like
Yeah,
you're hurt on the inside.
it's hurt, but there's nothing wrong.
But he just
Yeah.
doesn't understand it. He can't fathom what this means. So I love the idea that here he feels pain, and because of that, he understands what crying is now. It completes this journey of like becoming human. And it's this idea that Sarah almost lost herself to being a Terminator herself. She almost became what a Terminator is symbolically, and chose to not go through with it. It's really neat. It's this idea that she lost herself because there's that great thing during the nightmare sequence when she's looking at the playground and she sees herself and they have her in her like Terminator 1 haircut and like the Terminator 1 like her like work uniform, and it doesn't look exactly the same because it is obviously 7 years later, but like it's like, oh, that's kind of neat because like I do think Linda Hamilton looks a lot different in this movie. Like at points I almost don't think she
Yeah.
at points I don't even think she looks like Sarah Connor from the first movie. It's almost like there's a different actress, and it's not, but it feels that way almost at points.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool like dual arc for both of them, where she kind of almost loses her humanity, and kind of rediscovers
He
it.
gains it.
Yeah, and he gains it. Yeah. So, and like going down and do 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 do, and the thumb at the
Classic.
end, just to let them know it's okay. Just like everything's okay.
I'll tell you, I don't think I've ever once been emotional watching this movie, even though I know like my brother and my dad do every single time they watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But this was the first time I actually felt it when I was watching it. Not during the thumbs up, because although it's rad, it is kind of dumb. But the scene where John is crying and hugging him and telling him that he doesn't want him to do it, and that, I don't know, maybe it's just the acting, but that part did get to me.
Yeah,
I know not why you cry.
I actually don't think the thumb's dumb. Not because it means anything on its own, but just because it means something to John. Like it's just a message that they shared, so he's given him a message, which is why I don't think it's dumb. I will say Edward Furlong in the movie, like I think he's pretty solid. There is a couple of lines of dialogue here or there that feel a bit rushed. Where like there's a point earlier on where, when he's talking to his red-headed mullet friend, where he almost says like 3 lines of dialogue really quick back to back, like a couple of times, and it almost feels like he's rushing through the script, like he's nervous, kind of thing.
Yeah, also he has like it is like a lot of exposition for just one kid who's never really had very much acting before, or if at all. Because the credits said in introducing.
Yeah, this was his first movie. Yeah, he hadn't
So I
acted
guess
before
it's
this.
new.
Yeah, and Edward Furlong's coming back for Dark Fate, so we'll see how that works out.
How about that? Are you excited for it?
I don't know. He's not acted in a long time, and he's like, I mean, I hope he's healthy, but for a long time he had a lot of problems with drugs and
Yeah.
stuff. So I mean, we'll see how it is. I actually, if I was to make a prediction, here's what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to die in the start of the movie.
John Connor.
Yep. I
Then
think
what was the point of saving him?
I think the point of this movie is because things have changed, because it's Terminators have been developed later. I don't think John Connor's the savior of anything anymore, and that's why we have this new like girl who's been protected. That's why it's not Sarah Connor anymore.
Okay.
Not that it
So
would be.
Mackenzie Davis has gone back in time to protect this other girl.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, not much is clear from the trailer, because at one point she says, "Why do you want to help her?" And Sarah Connor's like, "I was her." So I think John Connor's going to die to prove that things have changed, and that we have new people to protect. That's my guess.
Okay. I'm sure he doesn't have like a huge part because
He's Edward Furlong. Yeah.
yeah, he hasn't been acting in forever. Yeah.
Which is why I think he's just going to be killed off in the first like 2 scenes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's my guess.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
That's my guess. Anyway, I love the ending. I love this slow going into the molten. I love the theme playing as it has a hero's sacrifice. It's everything about it's beautiful. Now the special edition doesn't have a different thing at the end here, but have you ever seen the alternate ending
Don't think so.
where it goes to the future and you have old age?
Oh yeah, I think I've seen it in like a deleted scene.
Yeah. You have old age Sarah Connor like watching
Don't like it.
adult John push his kid in the swing. Yeah, I'm not a big fan either.
You think they took it out so that not only because like the makeup is just horrendous, but also because it closes off sequels.
I mean, I was okay with it closing off sequels. I don't mind that part.
I think we all agree.
Because they've all been trash. But
Come on, Dark Fate. Come on.
yes, one Dark Fate. You can do it. You can be the good sequel.
I really do like Mackenzie Davis a lot.
I like Mackenzie. I love San Junipero.
Mm-hmm.
I like
And
Mackenzie.
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
2049.
Yes.
I'm so tired.
So no, Terminator 2. Terminator 2 is fantastic. Like, there's a couple of things over the years where I've noticed these little things that I can pick at if I want to. I mentioned that new plot hole I discovered today, but the ending always hits me. I think the more older I get, the more I actually really recognize what the story of the film is. Because I think when I was a kid and I was a teenager, it was just the action, it was just the sci-fi, it was just the T-1000 coming after them, blah blah blah. But everything we talked about with the humanity and like Terminator gaining his as Sarah Connor like regains hers or almost loses it and regains it, and how important it is to be human and important it is to cherish life, and that's why it's important that she didn't kill Dyson, because then she's just becoming a killer, and that's what Skynet is. She has to. Humanity is important. Like, if we can't actually be better, then there's no point in surviving. There's no point in humanity surviving if we're not better than that. So
Yeah.
there's a really nice message in there, which is sweet. I mean, it's maybe a little on the nose at the end with the narration, where she's like, "If a machine can learn the value of a human life, maybe we can too." Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. So good.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great film. Yeah, like you said, it's one of the best sequels ever made. I'm sure a lot of people would argue that it is the best.
Yeah, I think the first film was just a bit better in pacing, and I think it's just tighter. But 2 is full of iconic moments. It's full of great character beats, great effects.
And we get a really badass woman, which
we do.
I just can't help but love.
We do. No, Sarah Connor was great in this movie. I think the only thing going against Sarah Connor in this movie is the aliens exist, and Ripley in that movie is also goddamn badass. And
Yeah.
I lose them when I'm comparing those because they're both James Cameron, and not for any other reason. Because I am all for more
They're both
bad.
mothers.
Yeah.
Protecting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for more badass women in movies. I really am. There's not enough of them. We're kind of starting to get there a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
for a long time, it was Ellen Ripley and Sarah Connor. That was your
That's
examples.
what you got, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have any other ones. Unless you watch TV, of course, because then you might get the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Fine. Certainly not in the movie version.
Well, no, the movie's still. No one's talking about the movie. No one's defending the movie. Movie sucks.
It does.
It sucks. I want no part of it.
Should we rate this?
We should rate this movie. We should rate this movie out of 10. Tara, what are you giving Terminator 2?
Yeah, Terminator 2. Okay. I pretty much in the agreement with you for everything. I do have some things that I think could improve the film. Like I really don't like the narration. I know it's a product of its time because movies just felt the need to do that for a while, and I'm glad that they took it away. But for the most part, it's pretty flawless, with the exception of some minor things. And I don't really like to hold those against the film, like just little editing mistakes or whatever. So long as the themes are there, the characters are great, and it is. So I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it's a 10, even though I do think the first Terminator is better, is stronger. And just like you said, a tighter film. And I care more about Sarah Connor in that one. And I like the relationship in that one between her and Michael Biehn. And I like the slasher element of the Terminator just a bit better. But it's still going to be really, really high. So I'm going to go 9.5.
No, I was kind of seeing it going that way. So the one final point I'll make, actually, because I've spoken my piece pretty well. Just comparing the two Terminators, I think ultimately why I would say that the pacing and just being a bit tighter. I think the reason why I love the first one more is the aesthetic, and the it's all set in night. It's got this grimy tone. Terminator 2 is fantastic.
It's got that 80s punk rock vibe to it.
But the first half of Terminator 2 is in broad daylight, and it's just not as atmospheric as Terminator 1.
Yeah.
But
it's some great chase scenes.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic. But going down the LA River in broad daylight is just not as atmospheric as, Arnold jumping through fire in a dark alleyway and sneaking through like parking lot, like multi-story parking lots and all that kind of thing. It's just, there's an aesthetic to Terminator 1 that I just love. But I'm actually going to concur exactly with you and give it a 9.5 because it's fantastic.
It's so great.
It's fantastic. It's shy of the perfection. But if I'm ranking James Cameron movies, though, it is probably number 3.
Mm-hmm.
The first one and Aliens being the two that are higher, of course, because...
You wouldn't rate The Abyss over this?
Over this? Maybe when I see it again, maybe I would. But right now, I don't think I can.
Where's Titanic on your list?
I mean, I don't hate Titanic. I think Titanic's a fine made movie, but I mean, it's definitely the lower James Cameron ranks. That and True Lies, which
Millions
I also enjoy.
Millions of girls my age just cried out in fear and suddenly silenced. Never talk to you.
I like Titanic. I like Titanic a lot. It's just, it's not Aliens or Terminator 2 or The Abyss.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, okay.
And True Lies is fun.
Abyss in years, but yeah, I imagine it's quite good.
Yeah, I mean, I love True Lies, but True Lies is not as good as those 4 either. Like True Lies is
just fun.
Yeah, it's just fun. Bill Paxton's great in that movie.
Bill Paxton's fucking great in every movie.
I know, he really is.
God, I miss that guy.
I know, he's so good. I have to admit, his death was probably because it was so shocking, because it was this random occurrence, but it was probably one of the most affecting. But I was like, wait, Bill Paxton?
Yeah,
no.
I think we talked about this in the first Terminator also.
We probably did, yeah. But
I don't think we'll probably talk about it again when we watch Edge of Tomorrow and
Aliens.
Every time he shows up.
And what other sci-fi movies he's been in? Probably a few, but yeah.
Predator 2.
Oh, Predator 2. Yeah, we get to talk about Predator 2 at some point. What a guy. The only person to be killed off by an alien predator and a Terminator on film. It's an epic
Good
legacy.
for him. I hope he holds on to that trophy.
Yeah. So, Terminator 2, surprise, surprise, we give it a glowing review. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Surprising absolutely no one. So yeah, that's Terminator 2. Let us know what you think of Terminator 2 in the description below, and like and subscribe and all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at the Ace Podcast to just get updates, also talk to us and send us questions for future shows. You can also send us longer questions, or if you don't have a Twitter, at email address, which is at mftvquestions@gmail.com. That's mftvquestions@gmail.com. And you can send us questions there, and we'll pick some every so often. This has been a long episode, so we won't do any in this episode. But if there's an episode without a Mystery Science Theater section that feels a bit shorter, we'll pick some questions and we'll talk about them. So do send us some. We do need them. Tara, people can support us financially. How can they do that?
Oh, well, you can check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MilefuzzTV. You can donate as little as $1 per month, and that dollar gets you the bonus episodes of the Ace that we do. We've done a few of them now, and going to do at least once a month. That's worth $1.
Given how tired you are, that was good. That was that was good. You pulled through.
I'm so tired.
So check out the Patreon. I mean, after all, you wouldn't want my cats to starve now, would you? That's my new.
No.
That's my new guilt trip method. So that has been Terminator 2. So check out all the stuff we do. We do classic Twilight Zone reviews every week. That's me and Tara. There's a horror movie podcast that I do with Tim called Screams After Midnight. You may be interested in that. Check out that stuff. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching sci-fi movies, guys. And computer, add salsa.
Yum, yum.